What's up, you guys? Welcome back into iHeartRadio's official wrestling podcast, the Battleground Podcast. And we are super excited about what's happening in Nashville this week. Wednesday night, AEW makes their return after months of pleading to our guest, Tony Khan, to come back to Nashville. Please make it happen. And it's finally happening at Bridgestone Arena. Tony, how about that, man? You've gone from municipal to Bridgestone. How are you feeling heading into Dynamite in Nashville this week?
I'm so excited. I've been to Bridgestone Arena before as a spectator, but it's our first time ever for AEW at Bridgestone Arena. We've been to Nashville many times, but this is a big milestone for us this week. So I'm very excited for Wednesday Night Dynamite. And it's for a really important cause this week. We do the wrestling show on TBS every Wednesday, but this week it's a special Wednesday. This is AEW Fight for the Fallen. And proceeds from this show will go to benefit people who really need it right now. People in Maui dealing with these terrible, terrible fires, and all the support we can give. We're going to do everything we can to help the Maui Food Bank. So proceeds from this show will be going to them, and we'll have a great, great wrestling show this Wednesday night at Bridgestone Arena. It's going to be a huge card.
Oh, man. And, we've slowly started seeing some stuff announcing. One that we'll talk about here in just a little bit is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre match with Nashville's own Jeff Jarrett versus Jeff Hardy. So it's battles of the Jeffs, but we'll talk about that match here shortly because I'm intrigued by this match. But, let me ask you this. We're less than 2 weeks away from the historic All In at Wembley Stadium, as well as this year's All Out in Chicago the following week. What has been some of the challenges of presenting two marquee wrestling events on two separate continents less than a week apart from each other?
Well, we're going to find out. It's going to be exciting to do it, and it's going to be the first time anybody's tried anything like this. AEW's got our biggest show of all time coming up very soon, August 27th at Wembley Stadium. It's going to be a massive, massive event. I'm so excited for the show, and in particular, I have to say, right now, the ticket sales are unprecedented. This is the biggest pro wrestling event in the history of Europe. No show ever in Europe has sold more tickets or had a bigger gross than this. So it's pretty special. And it's one of the biggest wrestling events in the history of the world now. Mm-hmm. It's taking place later this month, August 27th. The show's going to be on early. It starts at noon Central Time. It's NFL timing. We're on in that noon Central.
Big fan of that. Big fan of that.
On a Sunday. So a couple weeks before NFL football kicks off, we're going to be in that spot. And then All Out the next week, Labor Day weekend, we'll be back in our classic pay-per-view spot on Sunday night. So it's going to be just about a week apart, two huge events, but we've got some huge events leading into them. We're going to find out more about these shows, and we've got great wrestling matches in and of themselves coming up this week. It's going to be a massive show here in Nashville. I'm really excited about it, and definitely it'll be an important stop on the road towards AEW All In at Wembley. But I also think it's just going to be a great show in and of itself this week in Nashville on Wednesday night.
We've been very fortunate that the shows that have been here have been incredible. Wardlow debuted in Nashville. MJF and Jericho were in the ring together for the first time in Nashville. So we're kind of expecting some special highlights on Wednesday. Kind of getting to like the current state. 2023 has just been an incredible year for you guys. There was some, we'll call it speed bumps in 2022. Those are in the rearview mirror. And I think you guys have really kind of, whatever you want to call it, focused or, steered the ship and kind of got over those speed bumps. There has been a few little rumblings going on recently. And, if this is a no comment thing, we totally respect that. Mr. Punk said some words about Mr. Hangman Adam Page Saturday night for Collision after their loss to the House of Black. Any comment on that? I mean, was that planned? Is it leading to a program? There's also, I think, was it Meltzer about? I think Meltzer said so. He had been denied entrance to the arena that night or something. Is there any kind of clarification you can kind of give us on any of that?
No, not really.
Moving on. That's all we needed.
I thought it was a great show Saturday night, and I don't have any further comment to that, but I am glad people are still very interested in our wrestlers and what's happening after the wrestling shows. I think we'll try to have a couple great shows this week, but certainly there has been a lot of interest in what's happening in AEW, in and out of the ring.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Most definitely. So I guess let's kind of move on to some bigger and better things. Of course, AEW Dynamite returns to Nashville this Wednesday. This time in the home of the Nashville Predators. You've gone up a little bit bigger from the past couple of times. It was Nashville Municipal Auditorium, which is a great place for wrestling shows. But now you're at Bridgestone Arena. What are you most excited about for this key episode of Dynamite, other than the fact that we talked about how you're gonna be helping out those affected by the wildfires in Maui?
Yes, absolutely. That's really important. Supporting the Maui Food Bank. This Fight for the Fallen show is for a good cause, and it's also going to be a great show. We've got the international champion Orange Cassidy defending the title against his former protege Wheeler Yuta. And we saw Wheeler Yuta a couple weeks back pop out of the car in that parking lot fight in Daly's place. Very reminiscent of how Orange Cassidy himself helped his team win the original parking lot fight at Daly's place. Really been a heated situation between Orange Cassidy and the Best Friends against John Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, and Wheeler Yuta. And Wheeler Yuta's history with Orange Cassidy goes back so far to Orange Cassidy being the mentor who brought him into AEW in the first place. So it's a really interesting match. I'm very excited for it. And, you know, there's been a big rivalry between these teams. And it's interesting because both teams have also had a pretty heated rivalry with the Lucha Brothers and the Death Triangle. So there have been some great matches recently involving all three sides. I definitely think this is going to be a great championship match. Orange Cassidy, I believe this is 28 defenses of the championship. He has been the most prolific champion in AEW history when it comes to defending his title on television and big matches. So Orange Cassidy, his body has been breaking down. It feels like every time he gets in the ring, his opponent might be able to take advantage of that. And certainly Wheeler Yuta is involved in the Blackpool Combat Club. He's got some of the best coaching in the world, and those guys will do whatever it takes to win, especially in a big championship fight. So that's what we got on Wednesday night is a big championship match, Orange Cassidy versus Wheeler Yuta for the international title.
Yeah, and I mean, Orange is almost kind of turning into a mummy. I mean, he's more bandaged every week, you know, but that's the definition of a fighting champion too, though. Another thing that we're looking forward to, Kenny Omega is going to sit down with Jim Ross. And, you know, something really strange has been happening over the summer. Don Callis has been getting what they call nuclear heat. I mean, every time he touches a microphone, it is just, whoo. I mean, that's just a special talent, obviously. What do you think Callis brings to the table for someone like Takeshita or even Jericho, who's kind of thinking about joining the family, the Don Callis family?
Well, Don Callis is a great wrestling mind. We've seen he guided Kenny Omega to the AEW World Championship and helped Kenny keep that championship. And frankly, Kenny wanted to go out on his own. Kenny's a great wrestler. I don't think he needed the help to win the championship. I think Kenny's a great enough wrestler. He would have been a great AEW World Champion without Don Callis. But we've seen Don Callis really took advantage of Kenny Omega, manipulated him. And I'm very excited to hear from Kenny Omega this week on Wednesday Night Dynamite when he sits down with good old JR and talks about what's happening between him and Don Callis. But certainly that betrayal from Don, we saw in that big cage match between Moxley and Omega in Detroit. It was there where Don Callis turned on Omega, something I don't think we ever believed we would see on AEW. And now it'll be really interesting to hear from Kenny what he has to say about this on Wednesday night.
It's definitely going to be very intriguing. Of course, if you're not in Nashville, make sure you're watching it on Wednesday night, 8 Eastern, 7 Central on Wednesday night. All these time zones. I wish we would just all be on one time zone so it's easier to make things.
I'll interject. So, Tony, the only reason I have a TV subscription is for AEW, and that's not I'm not stroking your ego here. I'm literally, if that wasn't on live and I could watch it like on Hulu or something else, I would cancel all my TV. But I literally have it for those programs. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Something really cool that kind of sparked our interest as we were sitting there watching last week, and all of a sudden on social media, a unique match that's happening here in Nashville for AEW Dynamite, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre death match with the Battle of the Jeffs. Jeff Hardy going up against the veteran Jeff Jarrett. Well, they're both veterans.
Yeah.
Walk us through this tie-in. Like, how did it come to be, and what can we look forward to on this match for Wednesday Night Dynamite?
Absolutely. I'm really looking forward to the big match, to have Jeff Hardy versus Jeff Jarrett in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre death match. It's been a rivalry. It goes back a long time between those two, but here in AEW in particular, a rivalry going back several weeks between Jeff Jarrett and his partners against the Hardys. And they're going to get a chance to fight it out. And on a big stage in Jeff Jarrett's hometown, right there in Nashville at Bridgestone Arena, we've got this Texas Chainsaw Massacre death match sponsored by the Texas Chainsaw Massacre video game, which is coming out very soon. And they gave us this great sponsorship deal, and they wanted a Texas Chainsaw Massacre death match. And we thought it would be great with the issues that have popped up between the Hardys and Jeff Jarrett and his family, to have the Jarrett versus Hardy, Jeff versus Jeff match on Wednesday Night Dynamite. Should be really exciting, and working with a great sponsor and providing their sponsorship needs.
Yeah, and having a tie-in like that to a legendary film is that's unbelievable. So, yeah, but I think that's about it for our time, right, Battle? We're gonna wrap it up.
Yeah.
Move on to the next thing.
Yeah, we've got one more question, I guess, because I know we've got some things. We're talking about music, as big as a music genre as we are. You've made headlines recently using Elton John's "Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting" as the theme for AEW Collision, as well as recently you snagged "Walk" for Pantera when RVD arrived on Dynamite.
Yeah.
How difficult is it to get the licenses for these well-known songs? And was there a backup song for RVD if you couldn't use "Walk"?
We did have a backup, but it wouldn't have been the same. And that's why I wanted to pay the extra and go the extra mile to get "Walk" by Pantera. Pantera was great and worked with us, and we worked out a reasonable deal. I compare music licenses in wrestling to trades in pro sports. It's like you can do your best, but every trade is its own transaction. It has to be between at least two willing parties. It can't just be one willing party in a trade.
Right.
And I think that's it. Very similar with music rights in wrestling. You have to reach a deal that's fair for everybody. And, sometimes the value is in the eye of the beholder. Right. And sometimes people ask for money that I don't think is reasonable. Other times we've gotten deals that I thought were very fair. But we do use a lot of licensed music, and in perpetuity. So someday when the AEW streaming library becomes available per our exclusive rights with Warner Brothers Discovery, the great company we're very fortunate to team with, I am optimistic someday all of this will live on Max, hopefully. And every great moment where we've licensed music, we still have that music. I paid for the rights in perpetuity. So whether it was something incredibly moving and memorable, like when we used Tom Waits' "Old 55" for the tribute video to the late great Mr. Brody Lee, or like you said, something fun with the great entrance, RVD, Pantera, other great moments like Bryan Danielson and the final countdown at Forbidden Door, and so many of the other great things we've done over the years. I really liked when Hangman and Kenny first broke up and they were going to wrestle for the first time in the Eliminator at Full Gear 2020. I had got the rights to Cinderella, Don't Know What You Got Till It's Gone, which was great. And I have had a lot of other opportunities to license music and work with a lot of great artists. We've done all kinds of great stuff, and hopefully someday all of that will be available for everybody to watch in perpetuity on the library forever.
Man, that's going to be some exciting stuff. I know you're a very busy man, so we don't want to take up too much of your time. We're going to hop off here so you can get back to doing what you're doing. I know with NFL going on, soccer, and now, of course, AEW Dynamite in Nashville. Is there anything you want to say to people watching and listening right now before we let you go?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Tim. I'm really excited to be coming to Nashville this week, Wednesday Night Dynamite on TBS. If you can't make it to Bridgestone Arena in Nashville, we'd love it if you could watch the show on TBS. It's on at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, and it's going to be a great show. What we're doing this Wednesday night is for a great cause to support relief of the fires in Maui. Proceeds from this show are going to the Maui Food Bank. I will be writing a large check to the Maui Food Bank this week, and hopefully everybody can check out what I expect is going to be a great wrestling show for a great cause on Wednesday night on TBS right there in Nashville.
Absolutely. We're looking forward to it, Tony, and we'll see you Wednesday night in Nashville at Bridgestone.
See you there. Thanks, pal.